your free testosterone test today. Results in 1 hour. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
My mom had a heart attack. Am I at risk?
Could my reproductive health lead to heart disease?
Yes, and a risk assessment could help us learn more. Because at St. Elizabeth, we know women are different when it comes to diagnosing and treating heart disease. We focus on your risk factors paired with preventive care to support a healthy heart.
We understand you have questions. And at St. Elizabeth, we personalize care with answers you need. Visit stelizabeth.com/askus.
The Ohio Laborers Union. They're more than just hard hats and tools. They're the backbone of Ohio's infrastructure, constructing vital projects that shape your communities. From iconic bridges spanning rivers to underground tunnels, they build connections that stand the test of time. Build Ohio right. Build it union.
There are two types of pain in the world. Ordinary pain, the kind that comes and goes, and chronic pain, the kind that keeps you from doing all the things you love for months or even years. If you've tried everything to treat your chronic pain, it's time to contact Commonwealth Pain and Spine. Our local team of highly skilled physicians can provide you a complete care program designed to relieve your chronic pain from head to toe. It's time to say goodbye to your chronic pain and hello to everything you've been missing. Visit mypainsolution.com. That's mypainsolution.com.
Run a business and not thinking about podcasting? Think again. More Americans listen to podcasts than ad-supported streaming music from Spotify and Pandora. And as the #1 podcaster, iHeart's twice as large as the next two combined. So whatever your customers listen to, they'll hear your message. Plus, only iHeart can extend your message to audiences across broadcast radio. Think podcasting can help your business? Think iHeart. Streaming, radio, and podcasting. Let us show you at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
JeffWeilerNissan.com.
Scott Sloan Show, 700 WLW. Coming up at 10:06. To quote Lieutenant Aldo Rain, we're getting him what for Councilmember Seth Walsh on the show. I don't know why the city of Cincinnati cannot take snow removal seriously. It's beyond me to think that we can live in a major metropolitan area as such, and we do get some snow from time to time. As I've pointed out in the past, I understand how people would act the way they do if it's Atlanta, if it's in Dallas, if it's in places where typically a winter event snow is a very rare thing. You know, you don't have plows, you're not equipped to deal with that kind of stuff. I understand that. But for the life of me, as long as I've been in Cincinnati, which is closer to 30 years than 20, I just don't understand how a city can get a decent amount of snowfall, significant amount of snowfall, a couple times. I think what's our average, like 30 inches a year? So we get snow. How ill-equipped we are and how ill-prepared we are of dealing with it. I could see if you lived in Minnesota, you know, that's a whole different thing when you get in the Upper Peninsula in Canada and the like, right? It's you just deal with it for, about half the year. It's just, you're used to it. Here, we act like, I don't know, it's such a rare event that we're ill prepared. Like, we don't have shovels. I saw a video of people trying to scoop out their cars with pots and pans. Like, how do you not have a shovel? This is not a rarity. We do get snow here, and there was a forecast on top of that, so we were not prepared. And that's just me and you. If you're the city of Cincinnati and you have literally millions of dollars invested in snow removal equipment and the people to move said snow, and you can't do it, that's a failure at the upper levels of government. Because at the end of the day, it's not about putting flower pots out. It's not about putting green roofs on top. And it's not about, our inclusiveness policies and coming up with edicts and writs and motions to sanction presidents and put our efforts behind what they're doing in another, stuff like Berkeley, California does. Oh, it's another motion to recognize the failed state of Israel. Well, you're in California. Nobody cares. Worry about California stuff. Worry about local stuff. Here in Cincinnati, same thing. We had 10 inches of snow falling Sunday and Monday. Here we are now Wednesday. And there's still some streets in Cincinnati, a number of neighborhoods in Cincinnati that still remain untouched by road crews. And we're going to see, another maybe up to 5 inches starting on Friday on top of this. It's not like it melted and went away. We're in a cold snap here. And if you're in a number of these neighborhoods, and that would be Clifton and Walnut Hills and Oakley right down from us here, and they're going, we're not going to plow those streets. Why not? Well, we have nowhere to put the snow. Cincinnati has been here for a long time. Okay, snow is nothing new. It's absolutely nothing new. And you're telling me that we have, in the past, when we had I wasn't here during the blizzard 78, and we've had 96. We've had countless snow events that I don't remember calling, we're just going to give up. When it comes to the lack of response on snow removal and the fact that the city administration is saying nothing about this, to me, that speaks volumes. And we're back to this again because this is exactly what happened with the Big Mac Bridge fire. The Big Mac Bridge fire, okay, we're going to shut down the bridges. This is going to be a burden on the streets, and people are going to take surface streets. And no question, no doubt about it. And there's nothing you can do about that. But you can go, hey, listen, we're going to direct traffic. We're going to try to ease the burden. It took 6 weeks for them to come up with a motion to study the problem. 6 weeks before they could sit down and go, maybe we ought to look at this. Wait, what? And I would say at the top of the administration level here, too, quite honestly, no one is allowed to address the problem. In the past, you would have people from the city going, we're working on this neighborhood, that neighborhood. And AFTAB runs this thing like a fiefdom. He had one photo op at the plow garage where he showed up to congratulate and pat on the back the hardworking, which they are. Don't take this out on the road crews. The men and women who run the plows and clear the snow, you go where you're kicked. You're a peon. You don't decide what roads you're going to plow, if any. You go where they tell you to go. But he shows up at the plow garage, says, hey, you're doing a great job, and that was it. The director of communications, Molly Lair, won't return phone calls. There's no accountability. At the very least, you want the perception that the mayor, if you have a mayor, you want a perception you will have your arms around the problem. That's why when you see, God forbid, something far worse is what happened in New Orleans, or when there's a natural disaster or something like that, you will see the governor or you'll see a local official wearing like one of those pullovers that have the special logo, the emergency services logo or whatever it is. He's not there in a suit. It's like, I've got my sleeves rolled up like Zelensky, right? I got a logo on. It's like, I'm in emergency mode right now. You're projecting that power that, hey, listen, you know what? We're on top of this. AFTAB's still walking around wearing $5,000 suits, and I'm guessing his driver, rolls out a red carpet so he doesn't have to get his shoes dirty. I'm not quite sure. Where the hell is this guy? If you're the mayor of the city, you should be out there in the front of this thing going, hey, listen, we hear you. We're addressing your problems. Well, we can't, areas in Clifton, we can't get a plow. We can't get a plow up there. People are parked on the streets, and it's a big problem. How about this? How about a front end loader? Like a bunch of guys get a front end loader and a dump truck, problem solved. I mean, it may take a little bit of a while, but why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we subbing some of this out to subcontractors? There's plenty of people with plows out there go, yeah, I can get that out of there. Hey, I got a front end loader. We'll get it out there. We'll get it removed, and we'll bill you at the hourly rate. But you're going to get the snow moved out of there. You're going to get people out of their driveways, for crying out loud. What are we doing over here? Really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, I haven't been driving in the mean streets of Cincinnati all that much because we've had snow events, and I'm not going down there that much. So if you're on the front lines, there's enough people who are in the news are complaining in Clifton and Mount Adams and Northside and Oakley that are going, I don't know why we can't get the snow out of here in a better fashion. We've had snow events in the past, and we've gotten it cleared. All of a sudden, this is the year, and granted, we got an unusually large amount of snow at one time. I understand that, but here we are, 4 or 5 days removed from this, and now we got another system moving in. Normally, you get the big roads done. Hey, the main arteries to the hospitals and the highways and all those things, those are going to get cleared first. Absolutely. Residential neighborhoods, subdivisions, side streets, not going to get the attention. But that was Sunday, Monday. We're going to Wednesday, Thursday now with another round moving in. You think you could catch up after a while? I know it's a tough job. I have deep appreciation for the people who are out there doing the job, but the problem is not them, it's the people at the top. And if you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have things in place in order to deal with this, it's not like this was, let's face it, you're going, well, this is such an odd situation. Was it really? I mean, okay, we got 8 to 10 inches of snow downtown. That's quite a bit of snow in a short period of time, in 2 days. Yeah, I feel you there. Normally it's an inch or two. We can kind of deal with that. 8 to 10 once, that's a lot. But it's not like this was a blizzard, for crying out loud. It's just and not only that, you could at least come out and say, hey, listen, maybe it is worse than previous snowfalls. It's going to take us a while to get this stuff dug out. But the fact that there's no one even talking about this, and I wasn't just, I'm not talking about the old school legacy media where you'd be on TV or the newspaper or here on the radio. I'm talking social media. I was, before the show, I'm looking down, okay, City of Cincinnati feed. I'm looking at the 311 Cincy feed on X. And the only thing in there, there's, okay, hey, 4 days ago we plowed 12,000 lane miles. Great. What about my street? Not a word. No one addressing anything. And it's so easy to do that on social and saying, hey, we realize these neighborhoods are having problems. Here's our plan to address your issues. When Rumpke doesn't show up for a day, people are like, where was Rumpke? Rumpke. They figured it out. Private industry, they're like, yeah, we're going to take a day here and give them a chance to get the roads cleared, and then we're going to come get your stuff. Fixed it, no problem. A day late, no problem. But they communicated that. Where's your city? Where's the city involved in all this? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. As I said, Seth Walsh will be on the show at 10:06. Councilman, seemingly one of the few people who want to come out and take a stand on this thing and saying, here's what we're doing, here's what we're not doing. Or maybe he's equally as angry about this whole thing as well. And he's fresh off being angry about the bridge, too. Let me go to Randy on 700 WOW. Hey, Randy, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's things? Where are you at?
I'm coming on 71 from Warsaw, but okay. I've been listening, and I tell you what I think the problem is, and ever since COVID, nobody wants to take accountability. There's no sense of urgency. I own a company, and it's the same way in construction. Everybody's looking to pass the buck.
Yeah.
They don't want to take any accountability for nothing. So, in other words, you look at a person for the snow. Look at New Orleans, for example.
Yep.
Any common sense, anybody with any common sense knows that a plastic barrier will not hold back a truck. You can go to a football game and it's totally different. But it's all about accountability, and everybody blames it on COVID. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to shovel their driveways and get to work. They want an excuse not to go to work, and it's just the way it is in life anymore. And ever since COVID happened and everybody started staying home, the whole industry in work, in every part of work, construction, restaurants, no matter what, everybody's looking for an excuse, and they still want to be paid because the government got so used to giving everybody what they wanted for free. Here's $500 for this, $500 for that, but let's tax the small guy and keep him going because he's the one that's funding all these free subsidies for all these other people. And it's really, truly a joke. And the last 4 years is really when this all started. And that's why Trump.
Yeah, well, I think you're right.
Hold on one thing. Let me just say this one thing.
Sure.
That's why Trump came in and won like he did, because there's a lot of people like me, you, who want somebody that's going to take accountability. That thing with the Mexico, the ocean, whatever he's doing right now, he's going to call it America. What a great idea! It really should be ours.
Which is pretty damn funny. I mean, that in Canada now, is he going to invade Panama and take over the canal? Probably
no, I don't
not.
Think so, but I'm just saying that's a good idea.
But here's the thing. I mean, he says stuff in order to get a reaction. The reaction's overwhelming, and then he brings people to the table, and he winds up negotiating with them and breaking through the din, and hopefully getting stuff done. I mean, it's certainly an interesting way to negotiate, but he negotiates from a position of power, saying, and people lose their mind because, oh my God, you can't take over Canada. We really don't want to assume Canada, or do we want Greenland? I don't know. That looks like a godforsaken place. We can't remove snow in Cincinnati. Now we're in charge of Greenland. We got no chance.
But I agree with you. Is what I'm trying to say. I just think nobody wants any accountability, and you look at Trump. Yeah. They like what he stands for. He's a man that's trying to do the right things. That we all used to have morals and stand for all that stuff. Look at you. You work on the radio. You go do side jobs. You do housing. You're still working.
Yeah.
That's lost. That is lost in the United States. We've all lost.
It's us getting, and I'll let you go with that, Randy. I appreciate your work, and thanks, man. And I think it's also a generational thing. It's America. We got fat and lazy. We don't want our kids out there doing the hard work that made this country what it is. We want someone else doing that work, which generally tends to be immigrants. I'll give you a quick story here. And I mentioned I posted this on X, or my wife did, actually. I didn't know she was recording. So we're out, grabbed some food last night because, we've been in the house for the last number of days, and supplies are, you're tired of cooking, let's put it that way. So we got our favorite Chinese joint. And there's a guy there who's struggling to get his very small car through a parking lot. I mean, if you can't get to and the parking lot wasn't plowed because, again, you can't get people to show up to plow parking lots. And so he's struggling like a mother to try and get his car through a parking lot. It was just like a little, where the drain is, basically. So it wasn't even a hill or anything like that. It was a little dip in the road. So he's there. We're watching him, and it's a couple of minutes. I'm like, okay, fine. I pull the truck aside. I get out. I'm like, let me help you, guy. And he has no idea what he's doing, driving a small car. I'm like, you need to rock the car. The guy, he had very limited English skills, let's put it that way. But I'll tell you what, people go, oh, here we go. No. Here's a guy who clearly has never driven in the snow before, who's new to this country, and yet he is out there willing to put his car and his butt on the line to make some money, to deliver food to someone. So you live down the street, presumably. Okay, here's the Chinese restaurant that you go, or whatever restaurant is in the plaza you're going to, and it can't be more than a couple miles. So you hire a guy to go out and drive to the restaurant that's just down the street from you, probably, because you tend to order from around where you are, right? Just down the street from you. Here's a guy, and I don't know what part of town he was from either. Didn't get into it, but you know what I'm saying is, you're going to get someone to take to go pick food up at a restaurant, to drive it down the street to you because you can't be bothered to get off of your ass, get in a car, and drive and get it yourself. Now, if you enjoy DoorDash, Uber Eats, whatever, I'm not knocking you for doing that. I just prefer to go out and get it myself. And going, why am I paying okay, the food's already expensive. I'm going to pay $30 for food. I got to add another 10 or 20 on top of that for delivery so I don't have to leave the house. Seems to me just like if I want to eat, I'm going to get in the car, shovel it, go down the street and get it. But here's a guy who's out there hustling, trying to make some money by doing that. I respect the hell out of that. I felt bad for the guy. I'm like, kind of got to rock your kite and understand what's going on. So bad shoulder and all, I pushed him and finally got him out of the way. And he wanted to go back in the lot. I'm like, no, guy, you got to park over here where there's no snow, where they've plowed already, this lot, and walk and get the food and then bring it back to your car. And then I think he finally understood what I was talking about. But I'm not knocking the guy. I'm actually celebrating someone who is willing to do that. Can barely speak the language, can't drive in the snow, and yet he's out there trying to make some money, which most people aren't willing to do. Hell, you can't even get out of your house to go and get food down the street. You got to hire somebody to do that for you. But I think there's something there with what Randy was just talking about. I don't know if that's a situation when it comes to clearing the streets and the plow drivers. I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll get to Seth Walsh in just minutes on that here on 700 WLW Scott's Lone Show. I was also talking about the passing of President Jimmy Carter. And I know you're supposed to react by going, oh, my Carter, he was the worst president ever because he was a Democrat. Yeah, you know me by now. I don't play that game. I think Carter and his presidency was a failure in the 4 years in office, but he did some things in there, and particularly after he left office, that I'm sorry, you don't have a heart if you can't respect what this man did once he left office. Because you want to talk about someone who, if you had the Mount Rushmore of presidents is one thing, he wouldn't be on there. But on the Mount Rushmore of humanitarians, how could you not put Jimmy Carter on that? Because what he did when he left office was absolutely incredible. Most people would shrivel up and die going, I'm a one-term president. Woe is me. I'm going to fade in the sunset. I'm going to go out and, as I mentioned to Frank Sorrentino, I'm going to go out and do speeches and make a lot of money on the side and feather my nest with that and talk about how everyone was out to get me and how things are screwed up today. I respect him for what he did as a humanitarian, not so much as a president. But I think this is also interesting as well, as you remember Jimmy Carter today and for the rest of the week, for that matter, if we're not complaining about snow. And that is the fact that, speaking of Donald Trump, he's going to show up to the funeral. He said he's planning, I don't know if this changed or not with the weather or anything else going on, but Trump was a pretty fierce critic of Carter. He would use him on the campaign trail and saying, hey, here's what's wrong with America. This is like the 1970s when it comes to stagflation and energy policy. And he's right in a lot of ways, quite honestly, and tried to project that onto Joe Biden in order to get elected, which obviously that strategy won. But that's politics. And somehow people and there's many people upset that Donald Trump, who criticized Jimmy Carter, this wonderful man, humanitarian, and sure is, that somehow you shouldn't have ever criticized President Carter. Quote some old Will Smith, keep his name out of your mouth. But as I recall, Jimmy Carter had no problem attacking other presidents for that matter. If you're outraged that he would show considering his criticisms of the late president, if that's the standard, no president should attend the funeral, because he said Bush was the worst president in history. At one time, he criticized Ronald Reagan. He criticized certainly Donald Trump. Made a lot of criticisms directed towards President Trump. Questioned his truthfulness, which is fair. Expressed concerns about our reputation around the world and institutions and the like, which is a fair assessment if you're Jimmy Carter. And he also had no problem going after, Obama, he criticized him to some degree. He criticized Bill Clinton, criticized every president. Yet somehow in his death, Donald Trump should show up to the funeral because Donald Trump criticized Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter spent a lot of time criticizing and armchair quarterbacking other presidents. So if you're going to do that in life, I think it's fair that your critics show up to your funeral in death. Scott Sloan, home of the best Bengals coverage, and now home of the Reds. We're 70-something days away? Bring it on, baby. 700 WW Cincinnati.
Do you want to literally hit the ground running for the new year, but joint pain is keeping you back? QC Kinetics can get you there. Eddie here. QC Kinetics can help you with no surgery and no downtime. QC uses the natural properties of your body to attack the root cause of the problems. Regenerative treatment that can give you lasting relief. You can say goodbye to shoulder, knee, hip, and back pain. It works. And best of all, you can use HSA and FSA money. You have nothing to lose. The first consultation's free. Get back to your best life in 2025. Call QC Kinetics now. This can change your life. 513-847-0019. Call for your free consultation now. QC Kinetics, 513-847-0019. 513-847-0019.
Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings. The number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet just $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code 700WLW. That's the code 700WLW for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. When you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, Ohio only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after the issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Men, it's the new year, and for many of us, it's a time of deciding to make positive changes in our lives. This is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health, and if you're suffering with erectile dysfunction and are tired of the frustration and embarrassment ED causes, you should call Tri-State Men's Health today. Because there probably isn't a better resolution you can make than to be done with ED. You see, ED doesn't just affect you, it can also affect your partner, even if they don't talk about it. But here's some great news. If you're like most guys, the treatments at Tri-State Men's Health will give you back your sex life. Because our protocols have success rates that work in well over 90% of cases. Seriously, you might even find you're performing like you haven't in years. So, make an appointment and get ED out of your life. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 800-900-9654. That's 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com. Tri-State Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
Live from the 700 WLW studios. Driven by Mike Castrucci Jeep in Fairfax. Now recognized as the largest volume Jeep dealer in Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. Mike Castrucci Jeep is the #1 Jeep dealer in the tri-state. That's Mike Castrucci Jeep in Fairfax.
You're listening to 700 WLW. Also available on 94.5 FM W233BG Cincinnati.
News, traffic, and weather. News Radio 700 WLW, Cincinnati.
An apocalyptic-like scene in Southern California with the 10 o'clock report. I'm Rick Uccino. Breaking now, wind-driven wildfires throughout the mountains just north of Los Angeles have forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate their homes. And to make matters even worse, firefighting aircraft, they've been forced to stay on the ground due to those extreme winds, upwards of 80 miles per hour, and they could intensify as we head into Thursday. The latest now in an update from ABC News.
This is a special report from ABC News, California wildfires. I'm Sherry Preston. Police ordering people in the Pacific Palisades community of Los Angeles to get in their vehicles and leave as fast-moving fires jump from home to home, fueled by fierce Santa Ana winds.
For the local residents that may be in the area that are thinking about evacuating, if it's a thought, I would say do it. The earlier, the better. Cal
Fire Battalion Chief Brent Pascua, ABC's Alex Stone, is in another community that's burning, Altadena, California.
I have never felt wind like this here in California. This is like being in a hurricane, a smoky hurricane. You cannot see very far in front of the car here. There are people trying to get out, a line of cars, people evacuating. There are glowing embers rolling down the street, coming off of the flames. There are homes burning around here.
The wind's so strong, fire crews are unable to put the flames out from the air. This is ABC News.
Let's check the latest traffic and weather together.
From the UC Health Traffic Center, UC Health Weight Loss Center offers comprehensive obesity care and advanced surgical expertise. Call 513-939-2263. That's 939-2263. Left lane gets by the cleanup for the earlier truck fire. Northbound 275 before you got to 28 in Milford. Still a very slow go after you get out of Eastgate past the old rest area towards that cleanup. Westbound 275, crews are working with an accident that blocks the left lane at Winton. Northbound 71's ramp to Fields, Hurdle, and Mason Montgomery is now open once again after an earlier crash. Chuck Ingram, News Radio 700 WLW.
Now, the latest forecast from the No Fear Dentist Weather Center. Advanced Dentistry. The thought of the dentist making you a nervous wreck? We're here for you. NoFearDentist.com.
We'll see mostly cloudy skies throughout the day today. A high of just 24. Clouds move out overnight tonight, but it gets extremely cold. A low of 3 degrees. Mostly sunny tomorrow, but the sunshine doesn't warm us up much. A high of 22. It's 21 degrees right now. News is a service of AE Door and Window. Cincinnati Public Schools made the decision to call off classes again today, with travel still difficult for many. In Mount Adams, for example, the city has decided not to plow the streets, saying they have nowhere to go with the snow. Both UC and Xavier did resume classes this morning. Get the full list of closures by going to 700WLW.com. Cincinnati police say a man who was shot on Sunday on Lexington Avenue and hospitalized in critical condition has now died from his injuries. The victim has been identified as 27-year-old Malik Thiam. There's still no word yet on any suspects in that case. If you can help in the investigation, call Crime Stoppers at 352-3040. Meantime, the Hamilton County Coroner's Office says an 83-year-old man is dead from suspected hypothermia. He was found outside of his home yesterday on Shepherd Lane by a neighbor, later died at Jewish Hospital. Not much else is known at this time. Members of the bank's business community are going to be holding a news conference later this morning, asking their community to advocate for a new arena to be built on the site of the current one on Broadway. The Heritage Bank Center is set to turn 50 this year. A recent feasibility study that was sponsored by the Cincinnati Regional Chamber identified 2 key locations that would best be suited to build a new arena. West Downtown, which would be a post-I-75 corridor construction project, and the Town Center garage site in the West End, just south of TQL Stadium. That press conference gets underway at 11:30 this morning. We will have it covered for you. A mixed day on Wall Street right now. The Dow down 113 points. Nasdaq's picked up 31. S&P off about a point. Our next update at 10:30. I'm Rick Ucino, News Radio 700 WLW.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get 60% off. Free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
I love my presets.
This is the best app for radio.
Look at how cool this looks.
It's everything you love about your car radio in the palm of your hand.
Wow. It's got my favorite thing.
Lyrics.
Find out what everyone is talking about and get the new and improved free iHeartRadio app today.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The Meijer 7 for $7 sale is back for a limited time. Pay $1 each when you mix or match any 7 or more on participating items, like bags of avocado minis, 1.25 liters of Coca-Cola products, plus deposit where applicable, Dannon or Chobani Greek yogurt, Kraft mac and cheese, and Meijer brand frozen vegetables. Save a good deal more with the Meijer 7 for $7 sale. That's the good life. Exclusions apply. See the Meijer app for details.
College football fans, order your CFP bracket football now before they sell out. Call 800-345-2868 or visit nicosports.com. Only 5,000 being made for $119.95 each.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
What's up, everybody? Adnan Burke here to tell you about a new podcast. It's NHL Unscripted with Burke and Demers.
Jason Demers here, and after playing 700 NHL games, I got a lot of dirty laundry to air out.
Each week we'll get together to chat about the sport that we love.
But we're not just going to be talking hockey, folks. We're talking movies, we're talking TV, food, and Adnan's favorite, wrestling. It's all on Le Table.
Listen to NHL Unscripted with Burke and Demers on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search NHL Unscripted with Burke and Demers and start listening.
Don't want to be an American idiot.
All right, here we go, digging out. And now, if you haven't dug out yet, there's more on the way. We're getting another 3-5 inches. We got bitterly cold temperatures, snow totals. We may see 1, 3, maybe even 4 inches or more, depending on where you live. And that starts on Friday. So the clouds are back in play right now. The bitterly cold temperatures continue. And if you haven't dug out yet, you got more on the way, so you may want to rethink that. Now, that's, our personal lives. You have a drive, if you're fortunate to have a driveway or a place to park your car and you're digging out, that's on me and you. However, when we drive on these roadways of ours, that's a different story entirely. I've been highly critical over the last half hour of the current administration. And when they succeed, I'll pat you on the back. But when you're failing, I'm coming at you, and I'm coming at you hard, as I did with the bridge. Because, okay, we've got a bridge that's closed because of a fire outside of the control of anyone, outside of the knuckleheads that set the blaze, and cause 100,000 cars a day to find a different route. It's going to overcrowd the streets, no question about it. Are there going to be delays? Absolutely. But I question the lack of response from the city when it comes to basic things like directing traffic or easing traffic patterns. It shouldn't take 6 weeks for them to go, hey, maybe we ought to look at this. That's a problem. And now you dovetail that into what we're talking about here with a snow emergency. And I'll be honest with you, I've lived here for a long time. I haven't seen this kind of response to this much snow ever. Now, normally it takes a few days to dig out, but it feels like nothing is being done because nothing's being communicated. Seemingly the only guy that wants to talk about this would be members of council, and that would be Seth Walsh joining the show now on 700 WLW. Seth, Happy New Year. How's things?
Happy New Year, Scott. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad I'm not having to navigate streets in areas like Clifton and Mount Adams and Price Hill and Walnut Hills and Northside, Oakley, and countless other neighborhoods that are still waiting for the city to show up. And the city has not yet shown up. Let's start at the top of this. We had 8 to 10 inches of snow falling Sunday into Monday. Some streets in Cincinnati are still untouched by road crews. We could see several more inches, I mentioned, coming up on Friday atop that as well. And yet none of these neighborhoods are being dug out at this point. And I think the frustrating part about this is the fact that there's no communication on if there is or what the plan is from the city administration. Are you feeling that?
I think that there's probably fair criticism there that, we could be doing more always to communicate as a city. The last 72 hours, has been particularly unique for the city. I mean, this is the first time in how long that we've dealt with a blizzard of this level. I I admittedly am probably in a different position because I've been getting a lot of briefings, and so not necessarily fully aware of what has been out there and what's not been out there. But there's always more we can do in terms of communicating with residents. Part of the problem with this blizzard was that it was snow, and then it was ice, and then it was more snow, which is one of the worst type of sandwiches you can get in terms of on the road there, because our plows have to spend so much extra time trying to clear that off. So I want to make sure that I start this by giving some credit to DPS and the snowplows out there. We had 58 running at any given point in time, 100 people working 12-hour shifts to make sure that the main arteries were being plowed.
Yeah.
It was a special, unique, historic snowstorm that just came through. So credit should be given to that. We are 24 plus hours afterwards now, and so they're fair questions. We have a lot of side streets. My understanding, and I want to make sure this is heard loud and clear, is that today the side streets are being attacked with vigor, and the city administration is going after it to make sure that we do get these side streets dug out. Now, to your point, I've received emails from essential personnel working at hospitals, even part of our crews. If they're snowed in because of these side streets, there's a problem there. So I think there's fair criticism that we need to be looking into, and there's a lot of lessons learned. But we got to get through the blizzard first to really start doing the reflection.
Yeah, and I think too, you said a lot of important things there, Seth. First and foremost, of course, is like if anyone thinks this is somehow the fault of a plow driver, the men and women working 12, 16 hours, you're out of your mind. It's not them. And it's, if I live on a street now, for example, my brother years ago lived in in Clifton, and the trails of his street, very hilly there in Clifton, the hills of Clifton, and they would, they'd come in and maybe they'd plow, maybe they wouldn't, and they give you we can't, they're too narrow, we can't get plows up there. I put my private enterprise hat on and go, okay, a second, now we've got these big plows, there's no way you're going to fit them on these narrow roads with cars stuck in the snowdrifts in Clifton, but you grew up in snow country. I grew up in snow country. What you do is you sub out that work to private vendors. You get people in there with front end loaders and dump trucks and hauling that snow away or dumping it somewhere in a park or something like that. If you can't do that, you get neighboring towns to come in and help and kind of farm it out to them as well. Are we doing that? Why are we? Is that even on the table? I mean, that should be part of our emergency game plan. And, you mentioned this is not once in a lifetime, but I wouldn't call it a blizzard, but 8 to 10 inches, significant snowfall for Cincinnati. No question. We're used to 1 or 2 or 3 inches, not 8 or 10 at any one fall. I get that, and I'll temper my expectations there. But when you say, hey, listen, we're not equipped to remove the snow, so we're just going to let it sit there for, well, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I'm paying my taxes, I'm paying the road crews, and you mean to tell me that these roads have been here for hundreds of years, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, we can't help you, sorry, good luck getting out of your driveway. But you expect me to pay my taxes to fund the services I'm not getting. I think a lot of people probably feel that way. Is that justified?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair opinion and it's a very fair feeling to have right now. And in many ways, these are some of the hard lessons that have been learned over the last 72 hours. We haven't had a snow event like this in a while. The last several winters have been very, very mild. And so I think there's probably some naivety, and we may have overlooked some things that maybe we shouldn't have that are now really coming out and showing their face. I know, and I can tell you this right now, that there's conversations about exactly what you just talked about are already happening for the next time. How do we get more contractors? How do we get more snowplows? How do we really go after these side streets so that it's not 3 days after the blizzard? We're doing them right away, and we're really getting proactive about it. But also, and you mentioned this, the snowplow drivers really did some amazing work here. I went for a ride along on Sunday as the storm was really starting to come down, and there were roads that we were driving down. I remember we were on Victory Parkway. You would have thought that the snowplow never touched it because of how much snow was on it. And yet the snowplow then to it 2 or 3 times. That was how rapidly the snow was coming down at points. And so the snowplow drivers have been working really hard, but there are areas that have definitely fallen short of what I think any of our expectations would be. And there are already plans in place. I just had this conversation before coming on here to make sure that gets corrected as quickly as possible going forward, because to your point, this is not a once in a lifetime event. Hopefully we never get an event like this again, but also it could happen again in 3 days, nonetheless next year or the year after that. And we are still, a northern city. We need to be ready for these type of events, and we cannot just say, well, it only happens once every 50 years. That's not okay. That's not an answer. That's not acceptable. And I think we all agree on that. But I get why people are frustrated, especially today. 72 hours on. The blizzard stopped. I love saying blizzard because I know it gets under your skin. It stopped on Monday. Here we are Wednesday morning. People are going back to work. If businesses can't open, if people can't get to their jobs, those are problems. As we talked about the bridge, they really start to snowball, no pun intended, into bigger and bigger consequences for our city.
Yeah, I think that's also fair too. And as you're talking there, I'm thinking about, well, this isn't like, God forbid, and this is much more serious than some snow, but like a terrorist attack. We didn't see this going. 9/11, we didn't see that coming. You kind of see the thing in New Orleans, like, yeah, we know there's going to be terrorists use trucks as devices, and they're going to plow people down. And the Bollard thing, you've had 7 years to fix that in New Orleans, and what the hell did you do with the money? That's just negligence and incompetence from the administration there. I look at this and go, all right, we don't get 8 to 10 inches of snow in one dump every single year, but it's happened in the past, and therefore, shouldn't you have had a plan in place already, knowing that it's possible you could get that much snow? And hey, okay, we have different levels of snow emergencies. I'd imagine that our government does the same thing and going, hey, listen, we may not get 10 inches in one dump every year. It may happen every once in a while, every 10 years, but we should go back in the book and there should be a plan for this to be able to go, all right, what do we activate when it occurs? This is not like an unexpected event. Seth, we're going to get snow, and we may get as much snow, if not more, than we just had. Why wasn't the plan from previous years in place here?
Well, I think what's a famous statement, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. I think that comes into effect a little bit more here than usual. Mm-hmm. Because it hasn't been, because it's been such a long period of time, years we're talking about, we had a lot of new drivers who had never driven, the snowplows before out there on the road, down some of these narrow, hilly streets where it gets very complicated. And so, we were reacting to more snowfall at a faster rate than we were used to. We were reacting to the, ice being in the middle of it, which really, I can't stress enough how much the ice being in the middle. If ice had come first or last, it's a different story. But being in the middle, we were actually having to go over these roads multiple times to make sure that we could even get them passable in the first place. Yesterday, I had a constituent reach out that the hospitals weren't clear enough around the hospitals. We were able to get that fixed, but the reality is the hospitals are one of the top priorities. Mm-hmm. It wasn't because we were neglecting it; it was because we had to do so many passes just to get it up and going. And so I want to make sure those facts are out there because I don't want anybody to ever say that the crews that were out there working came up short on this. But I do think that you have a very valid point about, did we plan appropriately? Were we ready for this? And, we've had this happen before, so what happened? And those are great questions that need to get answered. Today, I think the priority, much like the bridge fire, the priority is we need to get people shoveled out. We need to get to these side streets. We need to get people back on the road. I know the city manager has been taking it seriously because I just had this conversation with her, and I was impressed by how she was identifying areas of weakness where we can do better. And I agree with her. There are things that we've come up short on that we will do better, and we have better plans for going forward. That doesn't excuse how we got here. I think it's fair for everyone to be frustrated with us about that. But I do feel confident that there's actually conversations happening to improve this. But today we need to get those side streets out and clear them up.
It's not like we don't have loaders and dump trucks. It seems like on small streets and areas like that, that's how you clear parking lots, is you get a lot of snow and it's going to take a while. There's a lot of side streets and neighborhoods that need to do that. But I think the problem from the frustration I'm seeing on social and from residents is like, well, no one's telling us what's going on here. We feel like the word they're getting is, well, we don't have a plan to clear it, so good luck with that. You're going to have to wait till it melts. That's not really a plan. Or am I miscommunicating? Because the big problem here, above all that, is the lack of communication from the top on down. I was just on social before you came on because I wanted to be fair and try to get it as right as I can before I had you on, Seth Walsh, is to go, okay, well, I know our newsroom has reached out countless times to communications for the city. They won't return phone calls. The people down who run the plows and street clearing operations aren't allowed to talk because they don't have the authority. And I go to social and look for some answers there. And, hey, we're working on these neighborhoods. And there's nothing there as well. So based on what I see, and I see better than I hear, the communication has been terrible.
Yeah, I'm the first one to say we always need to do better at communication. We come up short, I think, as a city, as a state even. I had this complaint about ODOT with the bridge. I think too often we get ourselves stuck in these bubbles where we're communicating. I mean, I was getting a text update every several hours about what was going on. So I feel like I know a lot about what was happening. But that's not acceptable to the general public, right? And we have to do better at that. We have to always remind ourselves that people need to know, and people are willing to be patient and work hard to be flexible with the city and be flexible with our snow crews as they get out there and they try to solve these complex issues that I'm trying to explain. But if they don't know, obviously they're going to be frustrated. And so, I'm never going to shy away from saying that is absolutely something we have to constantly do better at. And no matter how perfect you may get it on one situation, you have to constantly do better on the next. And it sounds like we've come up really short on this one. And so I will pick up the torch on that one. I'll push that behind the scenes here, but I hope I've been able to get some information out to people today that they are working. And also I'll make it clear to people, reach out to me. Reach out to my email, just like we talked about the bridge. Reach out to me directly. Every time we get a concern that comes in, and I've seen several come in today that said we've tried the 311 line. I don't feel like I'm getting a response. My office directly takes that to DPS. So reach out to us. There's a lot of streets. We're trying to get it solved, but if you feel like you're not being heard, reach out to me, because I promise you that my office is taking it seriously and we are pushing these forward. They're doing the best they can. Right now we need to get these streets plowed. We need to get people back on the roads. We need to get people back to work safely, kids back to school. And then we need to do, an after action and figure out where we came up short. Yeah. And I think people are committed to that. And I'm committed to that.
And I think, people appreciate you coming on and at least saying that and assuaging some fear, saying, hey, listen, we're working on it. We're behind. We realize that, but we're trying to work. That's all. I think that's all people want, and certainly what taxpayers deserve. Now, I want, as I said, I always try to get it right in a land where I guess facts don't matter anymore. But in this case, like I don't live in Cincy proper, so I'm not getting direct text messages or that information. I see what I see on the news or on social. Certainly, a lot of people who live in these neighborhoods are upset because they feel they're being underserved, and so I'm basing my questions and having you on this morning stuff based on that. Now, if you live on a street and you're like, hey, things are fine where I am, obviously that doesn't make news if your road is clear. It's just the ones that, if it bleeds, it leads, the ones who aren't getting their roads cleared. But there's enough of those folks out there and enough neighborhoods it's concerning, right? I'm not overstating that.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're overstating it at all. I mean, I think we have a lot of streets in the city of Cincinnati. And so, yes, we've done a great job at this point of getting, the main arteries cleared. But we had someone send us an email today, and they even included an image from our tracker map, and it showed that their street had not been hit at all, period. And they're right. I can't refute that. And what I can say is we got to get that taken care of, and we got to step up. Right. And then again, after action, let's figure out why that happened. That I don't think that should be the case 24 plus hours on after the storm cleared out here. But there's undoubtedly some answers to it. There's undoubtedly some failings to it. There's undoubtedly some reason behind it. We'll get those answers. I don't need to get to those answers today. I need to get to those answers next week when we got this under control. Right now, we need to get people plowed out. Right. The reality is that there are people who've not had their streets touched yet. We got to get to them. And if you're one of those people, reach out, let us know. We're doing our best to solve it, but we really can't solve what we don't fully know. And that's where my office can step in.
Yeah, which is outstanding because you want to try and get it right down to the house. You're paying taxes and you're trying to safely get in out of your driveway, and maybe you're missing work, and it puts an undue burden on that person. Like, hey, I shoveled my driveway. It doesn't matter because I can't use the road. There's no way to get down or up this hill. And it's unfortunate. Now, the good news is it's Cincinnati, so it doesn't last too long. This is not like it's going to hang around another week or two, Seth. We'll be talking about 70 degrees. The damn golf courses will be open in probably 2 weeks in Cincinnati, and then we'll get another blizzard. So it's Cincinnati. It's what we do.
We'll be talking about the bridge again.
There's no question about that. There's no question. Do you see a pattern here, though? I mean, last time I had you on before the holidays, buddy, was to talk about the bridge, and you're not going to change that. 100,000 cars a day or whatever it is that goes over the Big Mac are now on surface streets. It's going to be a cluster you don't want. But taking 6 weeks to say, hey, we've got a problem here, and not even having people out directing. We talked about this ad nauseum, but now this is on back of that, and so I feel like maybe that there's a pattern here when it comes to neglecting surface streets in Cincinnati, whether it's the bridge and addressing traffic concerns and congestion and gridlock because of the bridge, or now is something as seemingly simple as removing snow from streets that have been in Cincinnati for hundreds of years.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it earlier about what the overarching issue is. It's a communication problem. We collectively, any government, any form of government that we're talking about here, federal, state, local, we have to do better at communicating what we know, what we understand, and how we're trying to solve the problem. And we need to do better at hearing people and then trying to adjust accordingly to that. I think that was the first lesson of the bridge issue. It took 6 weeks. It wasn't like they weren't doing anything, but for 6 weeks, it sure looked like they weren't.
Yeah.
And now here we are. We're doing things to shovel. We're doing things to plow. There are real issues that are causing the problems there, and we're not doing a good enough job explaining to you what. We're asking for your patience, but we're not giving you the benefit of explaining the why. And so, I hope I've done a better job of doing that, but I think that you're right. It is a thing that we need to we have to get better at this. Unfortunately, it's a tale as old as time, right? Government has always been bad at telling the story. But we've done better in the past. I think we've really come up short on a few major issues here lately. I hope this is what the catalyst is to change that going forward. But that seems to be the underarching issue to me. We just don't communicate, and we don't seem to react to what the issue is right off the bat.
Well, I also see, again, I mean, the mayor of a city, of any city for that matter, tends to be the person that you look at going, like the president, the governor, give me some answers. I don't see this mayor doing that at all. There was a photo op, I guess he had it with the Plug Garage, but I would love to see the mayor, when you talk to him, it's like, why aren't you out there in front of the camera? Why aren't you being more proactive in getting the message out in times of crisis? We want to have leadership. I feel that's absent here. Now, God bless you, Seth, you're a council person. You're not the mayor. Or a city manager, for that matter. I would love to see more action on their part.
Yeah, Cheryl was out there. Cheryl is really great with the city employees in terms of she's always present, and she doesn't necessarily put it out on social media. And I get that because I like to go to police and fire departments, and I don't post when I go out there because I feel like that kind of undercuts the genuineness of showing up and trying to be supportive.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure Cheryl gets her dues for that.
Okay.
Similar to me, you can probably hear it in my voice. I've been battling cold. I know Cheryl has too, but she's been working 24/7 here. But this is why Saturday you may have seen I was out with the firehouses, just checking in, making sure we're ready for what's coming. Right. Sunday I was actually riding along. I think it's important to be there for our employees, but I also think it's important for us as elected officials to see what's happening so that I can react to what you're telling me and say, well, this is what I've experienced or I know is happening, or I can personally see where we come up short and say, this is how we have to fix it. Yeah. And so, I think I would encourage anybody elected, whether it's elected today, elected in the future, whatever government office they may be in, to go out in these moments because, these times of crisis are where you see the best in our employees, but also where you get to see how the city really works or doesn't work. Yeah, no question. All right, I'll let it go at that. Seth, thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate you, and hopefully your cold gets better. And maybe this time next week we're talking about sunshine and snow melt as opposed to 4 or more inches moving in this Friday. We'll get through it. Appreciate you. All the best. Thanks, Scott. Take care. Councilmember Seth Walsh from the Scott Sloan Show. Hopefully you got some answers. If not, feel like, hey, somebody's listening to us. At least we got somebody listening to us. This is 700 WLW.
Now's the time to buy your new vehicle at carryautomotive.com. Whether you're in the market for a Toyota, Ford, Buick, GMC, Chevy, Nissan, Mazda, VW, or Hyundai, the place to shop is Carry Automotive. Just 20 minutes from anywhere. Carryautomotive.com. We are right by you.
Don't get caught out in the cold. Call the pros at Oxshire Gas today and schedule your propane delivery. Oxshire Gas works hard 24/7, 365 to keep your family safe and warm. Call Oxshire Gas today, 513-724-7700 or online at oxshiregas.com.
When dreams sunk in, that's are us. No more mess, no more fuss. Transform your bathroom by Vans R Us. Immerse yourself in luxury. So fresh and so clean. Your personal oasis just as you dream. Vans R Us. When dreams sunk in, Vans R Us.
Call 513-676-BATH to schedule your free estimate or go to bathsrus.com.
News, traffic, and weather. News Radio 700 WLW, Cincinnati.
They could be battling the blazes for days with the 10:30 report. I'm Rick Uccino. Breaking now, hurricane force winds, the driving force behind massive wildfires across Los Angeles this morning. They have forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate their homes. And making matters even worse, firefighting aircraft, they have been grounded due to those high wind gusts. The flames doubling in size overnight in just mere hours.
Over 50,000 people forced to evacuate their homes, fleeing for their lives as fires burned across LA County. Multi-million-dollar homes incinerated one after the other. The largest fire tearing through the enclave of Pacific Palisades, one of the wealthiest in the country. It was fueled by historic winds, burning a rate of 5 football fields per minute, gutting the Palisades high-end downtown area.
That is ABC's Matt Gutman. Firefighters expected to be battling these massive flames for the next several days. Let's check the latest traffic and weather together.
From the UC Health Traffic Center, UC Health Weight Loss Center offers comprehensive obesity care and advanced surgical expertise. Call 513-939-2263. That's 939-2263. Northbound 275 continues slow between the Milford Parkway. The earlier truck fire cleanup continues with the right lane blocked off before you get to 28. Interstate traffic elsewhere is in good shape. Earlier routes have been cleared. Chuck Ingram, News Radio 700 WLW.
Now the latest forecast from the Train Heating and Cooling Weather Center on News Radio 700 WLW.
Mostly cloudy skies throughout the afternoon today. Going to be very cold out there. A high of just 24. Even colder overnight tonight as clouds move out. Your low dips down to 3. Mostly sunny tomorrow, but that sunshine is not going to warm us up any. It's going to be a high of 22. It is 22 degrees right now. Another rough morning commute for many across the tri-state today. Highways, for the most part, in great shape, save for maybe a few slick spots out on some bridges and overpasses. Many residential streets, though, they remain covered with another blast of snow arriving on Friday. Thankfully, it is not going to be nearly as much as what we saw Sunday into Monday.
We should not do that again for quite some time. But even these more minor events that are on the 1 to 3 inch scope, maybe 2 to 4 inches of snowfall, they still have a large impact on travel conditions and getting out there. And that is something that we do have to consider for that second half of your Friday forecast.
9 First Morning meteorologist Jennifer Ketchmark. Cincinnati Public School District did make the decision to call off class again today, with travel still difficult for many. In Mount Adams, for example, the city has decided not to plow the streets at all, only laying down salt, saying they have nowhere to go with the snow. Councilman Seth Walsh says he understands the frustrations with the city's response.
Today, the priority is we need to get people shoveled out. We need to get to these side streets. We need to get people back on the road. I know the city manager has been taking it seriously because I just had this conversation with her, and I was impressed by how she was identifying areas of weakness where we can do better. And I agree with her. There are things that we've come up short on that we will do better, and we have better plans for going forward. That doesn't excuse how we got here. I think it's fair for everyone to be frustrated with us about that.
Walsh on with our Scott Sloan. On Wall Street right now, the Dow is down 165 points. NASDAQ has lost 64. S&P down 18. Our next update at 11. I'm Rick Ucchino, News Radio 700 WLW.
When it comes to moving, trust College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving. Locally and veteran-owned, we move with integrity. We make room for what really matters. Visit collegehunkshaulingJunk.com for all of your moving needs. Get a free, no-obligation estimate today.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, Proactive Men's Medical Center will get your sex life back in just one visit. Their painless, breakthrough medical treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Proactive Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Proactive Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments will restore your sex life regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. Plus, you'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients will have their testosterone checked free. Call 513-866-4886. 513-866-4886. To regain your sex life in just one visit, call now. 513-866-4886.
Do you want to literally hit the ground running for the new year, but joint pain is keeping you back? QC Kinetics can get you there. Eddie here. QC Kinetics can help you with no surgery and no downtime. QC uses the natural properties of your body to attack the root cause of the problems. Regenerative treatment that can give you lasting relief. You can say goodbye to shoulder, knee, hip, and back pain. It works. And best of all, you can use HSA and FSA money. You have nothing to lose. The first consultation's free. Get back to your best life in 2025. Call QC Kinetics now. This can change your life. 513-847-0019. Call for your free consultation now. QC Kinetics, 513-847-0019. 513-847-0019. Hey, if you're like most Americans, you have a ton of debt and you're paying insane interest rates every month. Stop getting ripped off. Let Loan Pronto consolidate that debt for you at a significantly lower rate using the equity in your home. I had said Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line of Credit can get you up to $500,000 so you can consolidate your debt in as little as 5 days. Their average client saves over $1,000 every month. Now's the time to act. With an Express Equity Line of Credit, you can access up to 90% of your home's equity, usually without an appraisal. Don't put it off. Get your financial house in order for the new year. Call Loan Pronto now to see what you can save. It's a free quote, and there's no credit pull, unlike the other guys. Call now, 513-800-1550.